Welcome to the Divine Living Talk Show. I'm your host, Gina DeVee, and this is your weekly motivation segment. You are 10 minutes away from being inspired, clear, and ready to rock out your business this week. So grab a coffee or green juice and let's get started. Welcome to the Divine Living Talk Show. I'm your host, Gina DeVee, and today we're talking about the comparison trap. You know what I'm talking about, that thing that you do maybe every day, like wake up and go through your Instagram feed and start comparing yourself to her stuff looks like crap, mine's so much better. Oh my gosh, she's on the Today Show again. She got proposed to by him in Bali with like white tigers flown in. She got another booked. She is speaking on that stage. I mean, it can be endless if we are not careful. More than careful, it's about being intentional. So if you would like a very simple and absolutely instantaneous solution to never compare yourself to anyone again, I'm so glad you tuned in today because I have the exact solution that you need. And the reason why I have the exact solution is because I have done way too much of this myself. I have gotten myself off my own game. I have gotten myself into fear. I've gotten myself into judgment and comparison that does nothing for anyone. So what I have had to come to terms with and instantly snap myself back into alignment is, who am I? What am I about? Because there is nothing in this world that is my business other than that. And when I can ask myself, who am I and what am I about? And then connect with God and the universe, I don't feel alone. I don't feel isolated. I don't feel afraid. And instead, I immediately snap myself back into possibility. I immediately remember that with God, all things are possible. I immediately remember that no one can compete with me because no one else is me. And the same goes for you. No one can compete with you because no one else is you. And when you remember how powerful you are, when you remember how special you are, when you study yourself and really get to know how unique you are, you won't ever again worry about who's doing what and where. And instead, you'll be able to celebrate another sister. You'll be able to say, amazing, I'm so thrilled to see you on the Today Show. Congratulations on your engagement. What, you got another book deal? Of course you did, because you're so into living your life as well. But the thing that I see that gets us off track is when you start to look at someone else doing the things that you think that you're supposed to be doing, but you're not. So then you go into this comparison thing, well, she did it, now I can't. Time to eradicate that today. So the first step to completely getting yourself out of any kind of paralysis on the comparison trap, making yourself better than someone or worse than someone, is to connect with who you are and go to God. You have to connect with Source and you have to connect with yourself. In that, there's an opportunity for wholeness. In that, there's the opportunity for the miracle. In that, there's the opportunity for you to raise your level of consciousness so that you can start really looking at who are you meant to be and what are you meant to do. I remember back in the day, I had just moved to Santa Monica and I had basically an imaginary business, this fledgling something that was trying to get off the ground. And because it was such a painful experience for me, my anesthesia would be to go to Barnes & Noble, remember when they existed, and go and I'd look at all the beautiful magazines. And I would go and I would select this magazine and that magazine. And I remember I picked one up and there was a woman that I admired on the cover of it. And I realized I had a choice. And I said, she's not focused on me. Why am I focusing on her? Especially when my life was in such shambles at the time. For the first time, I didn't purchase the magazine. I went and put it down and I went back to go work on my life. And since then, I haven't had an imaginary business. I haven't had this fledgling thing. It hasn't been, there's been challenge biz, but it hasn't been filled with struggle. And it's been filled with the gloriousness and the blessing of me being able to be who I am, do what I desire to do, live the way I want on my own terms. And that's what happens when you free yourself from the comparison trap. I have one more step for you, so hang tight. But just remember that you're here for a reason. So focus on that reason. There is no lack in the world. There's no lack of money. There's no lack of clients. There's no lack of opportunity. And as Tony Robbins would say, the only lack there is your resourcefulness. So I invite you to get back into this realm of opportunity and who you really are. You won't be comparing yourself to anyone because you won't have the time to, but more importantly, you won't even have the interest to. Because this is not about being narcissistic and self-absorbed. This is about being intentional. This is about being focused. This is about living your life with such purpose that that becomes your complete experience. Next tip, just in case you and God don't have this one down, which it'll bring you, if it doesn't bring you 100%, it'll give you a great, it'll bring you from 0 to 98% good. If you need the last 2%, here you go. It's called a thank you note. Oh yes, that woman with the white tiger situation, write her a thank you note. Because anyone, and it could be a dude too, but most of us are looking at other women, any woman doing anything that you desire, including me right now, you desire this, here, I'll give you my address, I'll receive your thank you note. You write that woman a thank you note and you say, I am so thankful that you have modeled for me what's actually humanly possible and what I desire more of in my life. That simple. The first time I was so jealous of this woman who had this big career move and she was collaborating with these super big names, and you would have thought that I got stung by 1,000 bees at the same time. It was just that ping of, oh my God, she gets that. And it was painful and I was angry at her. I mean, the poor woman, she's just living her life doing her thing, right? And I was like, how dare she? How could she? Who does she think she, it was the whole thing. And then I just had to own, I wanted that. I wanted to connect with those high vibe women. I wanted to play a bigger game in the world. And I did happen to know this person. And I did take my own medicine and I sat down, I wrote her a thank you note. I said, dear so-and-so, I want you to know how happy I am to see you having manifested this success. And I want you to know what a big difference it's made in my life, because I've been desiring to play a much bigger game for a long time now. And you have modeled to me exactly what that looks like. So thank you. When you acknowledge another while owning it for yourself, that's called being a star among stars. And I know that so many of us have been taught that if there's more for someone else, there's less for us, and there can only be one star in the room. Well, ladies, we are changing that game today. This is about connection. This is about sisterhood. This is about she can and so can and I can and so can you. So really get this down, that anyone doing anything that you want that you're comparing yourself to, learn from her. Go for it. She's not the only one. She probably didn't even invent it either, by the way. There's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of hosts, guests on the Today Show. There's a lot of people getting engaged. There's a lot of body transformations. What's your thing? What have you been comparing to? There's a lot of people with 6-figure businesses, 7-figure businesses, 8-figure businesses. What's your deal? You go get so focused on that. You start studying the people who have gone before you. Start learning who they were being, number one. I didn't say what they did, who they were being. And then you study what they did and what their action steps were. But I'll tell you, if you notice what was going on in their being, that's going to be the differentiation between you and her. Right? Who was someone being when they wrote that best-selling book? And who do you need to be and what are you about? That's the differentiation. When I see the women in my Divine Living Academy, they're so concerned about, well, how am I going to be different from anyone else out there online? The only reason why they're looking like clones online is because they're not being their authentic self. Because there isn't anyone in any of my programs or anyone I've ever met in this planet that is like anyone else. So if you're struggling about how to stand out online and you're comparing yourself to others, you go do you. You go be you. Go have the audacity to be you. Fail forward. Make a mistake. People are going to talk anyways. They already are. Don't pay attention to that. Be so in tune and in focus. Remember, with step 1 of connecting with you and God, and what are you about, and what are your dreams, and what are you meant for? And step 2, when you see someone else that's doing something that you want, write her that thank you note. You don't need to be jealous. You can be acknowledging, and then you can go be intentional about taking the action steps to live your big life, to live your dream, to live your purpose. That will completely take you out of any form of comparison from this moment forward. So if you enjoyed this, leave a comment. I want to see what you are going to be transitioning and transferring so that you get yourself out of any kind of comparison trap and free yourself today.